Thank you. Thank you. It's always great to be back here at Ferris State University. Obviously, as Nick mentioned, my alma mater, and just fun to see all of you, and I know all of you are excited about your careers and where you want to go in life. My career started right here, in this on this very campus here at Ferris State. Just had an opportunity to be a part of a great communication program to start out with Dr. Sandy Osbaugh, who really kind of nurtured and honed me into the person that I am today. So before we get started, let's give Dr. Osbaugh a hand for everything she's done. I can still hear her in my ear some days telling me what to do and kind of how to do it and when to do it. So she's a great inspiration. And then, just being a part of a lot of things here on campus that were very, very instrumental in my growth from, again, being a part of the Applied Speech program, communication program, to being a part of, the football program here and having a lot of success on the football field, to being a part of other activities on campus as well. So I just think, being engaged here, you're in a great place to do some really, really exciting things. The college experience is something that when you look back on it, when you get into the working world and into your career, it's something you'll really, really cherish a lot. So think about that as we talk tonight. I'm gonna talk to you about winning and losing, but I'm gonna do it in a kind of a unique way. I'm gonna use a lot of personal stories and a lot of examples of things that really help me along the way as it relates to not only winning and losing, but really my career. And hopefully you can take some things from that and really help you. It's not going to be a long speech or anything like that, but I just want to give you some things, and a lot of it is stuff that you already know, but just hopefully it'll give you a different way to look at it and a different way to view it versus kind of the way you look at it now. Some of the things that I think that are really important, when you talk about winning and losing, you talk about the journey, and you talk about sports and your career and where you're trying to go, and the things that go along on that journey that happen. So I'm gonna start with six key things that I think are very important along that journey. So if you guys want to take notes on these, I think that'll be good. First, it's the long-term vision. Where's your long-term vision? Just sitting in your seat and kind of, when I was sitting in your seat, I was always wondering and thinking about what was 2 and 3 steps ahead. So right now, you should be not only visualizing, your internships, not only visualizing the things that you're doing in your classes, not only visualizing your day-to-day activities with your friends and social aspect of college, but visualizing where you want to be. When I was sitting in your seat, only thing I could think about was 2 things. One, I wanted to make it to the NFL. That was one of my big goals. I wanted to make it to the NFL. And the other goal I knew, I always wanted to work in sports. So I would always think about, how that's my long-term goal, and that would cross my mind every day. And just think about steps that I take to get that and to accomplish that. And realize where you are right now. Don't ever confuse your temporary situation, and this is temporary, with your long-term vision and long-term outlook. I think sometimes people feel like, hey, you know what? These are my circumstances right now, so this is where I'm going to be. Well, you don't want to look at it that way. I grew up in a really impoverished area, and when I was growing up, my circumstances were very, very limited. And if I would have just thought about my situation and where I was, I wouldn't have been able to see getting to a place like Ferris State University, being able to do all the things that I was able to do here. So every step of the way, no matter what your circumstances are, understand that long-term vision is the key. And the key word inside of long-term vision is hope. You have to have that hope. That is so important and so imperative to the progress that you make. Because some days the sun is not going to come out. Some days it's going to look dark. Some days it's going to look gloom. But that vision out there and that hope will bring you to another place where you can start thinking and the sun will start to come back out for you again. So understand, number one, you have to have long-term vision. Number two, something that I think is imperative as well, is preparation. What is your preparation like? Everyone says, hey, I am prepared. But ask yourself, are you really prepared? What is your preparation like? And what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Before, I have a company called Children's Sports Consulting, and I've been working with that, for the last several years. But at some point, I realized I want to be an athletic director. I want to be a high school athletic director, along with all the other things that I'm doing. So at that time, I decided I wanted to be a high school athletic director. I started to put together a document. Every night when I got home, again, I wasn't an athletic director at the time, but every night when I got home, I wrote some of the key things that I thought would be important to be an athletic director. And then after that, after I got that complete, I went and visited 5 high school athletic directors, sat down with them, went over what I had in my document, and said, what do you think about this? Are these some of the key components to being a high school athletic director and being successful? Some of those things were communication, game management, student-athlete and coach relationships. There are a lot of different things in there. It ended up being, my document ended up being 9 to 10 pages long after I met with these 5 ADs. Some of the stuff I had was good. Some of they said, hey, you know what? That really doesn't apply as much. Because remember, at that point, I had never been a high school athletic director. I had worked at the college level. I had an opportunity to do that, but I had never been an athletic director. So I just continued to work on this document. I remember some friends of mine and family said, hey, why are you working on something prior to even, you don't even know if you're going to get an opportunity to do this. But again, back to that number one, that vision. I thought, you know what, I could do this. But the second thing was I need to be prepared. That's why I put a 9 to 10 page document together. And then when the opportunity came, it was Okemos and there was a few other schools that I was looking at. Sent out my information, my resume, cover letter, right? Everyone's doing that. That's great. But then along with that, a thoroughly researched 10-page document on my vision for an athletic department as me being the athletic director. So to shorten the story, I got a call to Okemos, talked to the superintendent. We had a great conversation. One of the things she told me in the conversation prior to the interview, boy, I really love the document you put together. We haven't seen anything like this before. A light went on in my head right then. I knew I was going to get the job. Before I even interviewed, I knew I was going to get the job because it was something different. They hadn't seen anything like that before. Again, what is your preparation like? And is your preparation unique, or are you doing what everyone else is doing? Think about that. The other thing that I did from a preparation standpoint, and this is all a part of this journey of winning and losing. The other thing I did from a preparation standpoint is I called a good friend of mine who I knew had a background in the East Lansing, Okemos area. I said, hey, I need you to call the hiring manager, which was the superintendent, on my behalf. And he said, yep, no problem, I'll call. So after I had a good conversation with her, the next day, who in here knows Greg Kelser? Familiar with Greg? Fox Sports. Greg called and said, hey, I think this guy, Ira Childress, would be great for your school. I think he'd be great for your student athletes. I've had a working relationship with him over the last 10 years. Now, guess what? The superintendent is really excited now. So when I go through the interview, it went well, everything went well. I asked her afterwards, hey, what do you think? What was the key point? Yes, your resume was good. Your background was good. Your references were good. All that was good. But some of the key points was the documents you put together, and also getting a call from a Michigan State guy like Greg Kelser to sign off on you. So understand that whoever your Greg Kelser is in your life, and whatever documents you need to put together about the field that you're going into, that preparation cannot be replaced. And it's so important because it's going to make you different. It's going to make you stand out. So preparation is very, very important. Next is the word that everybody's afraid of, failure. No one wants to fail, right? I mean, that is the most daunting, the most scary thing that can ever happen to us. Well, guess what? If you ever run away from failure, you will never be successful to the level you want to be successful with. Failure is going to come, no matter what. My first month on the job at Okemos High School, I had a situation that could be deemed as a traumatic failure, and it was. We had a football coach that ended up getting let go, and that was on me in like midway through the season. And that's something that it was a big thing in the community. It was on the news. It was all this stuff. And I thought, man, you know what? My athletic director career is over before it even gets started. I had people at my door. It was a really traumatic time. I had never had this type of negative press. I had never had that type of things that, came down on me, and I was on talk shows, and people were like, who is this guy? They had no idea who I was. It was a bad, bad scene. And it went on for like a week and a half. And at that point, my career as an athletic director could have been in jeopardy. It could have really been in jeopardy because that was failure I had never seen before. But at the same time, I knew there was only one way to do, and that was look it right in the eye and come out and fix it. And that's what I did. But at the same time, if I would have retreated, or if I would have tried to go around it or skirt this way or that way, it would not have worked. Sometimes things are going to hit you right in the eye, things you didn't see. I had no idea this was going to happen or, how it would happen, but I had to handle it. It was adversity, and we're all going to go through that. There's so many times in life where we're going to fail and we aren't going to get to where we want to go. But the question is, how are we going to handle that failure? I had failure here at Ferris State University on many occasions. But at the same time, I utilized that failure as a stepping stone to be successful. So write this down if you don't write anything else down. Failure is meant to be your teacher, not your undertaker. Failure is meant to be your teacher, not your undertaker. So it's not a final thing, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But another reason why people don't take it to the level that they can take it to in life is because when they fail, they fall off completely, and you never recover, and they never recover. When I was here at Ferris State University, there was a time when I had to drop out of school. Let me say this again. There was a time when I had to completely drop out of school. Financial aid didn't go through. It was a whole rigmarole of things that happened where I had to say, you know what? I'm out. I can't go to school anymore. Had to leave, pack up, leave my place, and move. I walked into Dr. Ray's office and said, hey, look, this is my situation. This is my circumstance. I have to leave now. And she looked at me and said, you know what? I've heard this a lot. And a lot of times, the people that I hear from, I never hear from them again. They're going to go home and they're going to do this and do that. At that point, I was looking failure right in the face. And what she was trying to tell me is, you're at a crossroads. Are you coming back or are you not? And so what I did, I said, can I talk to you and can I call you once every 2 weeks? And at that time she said, yes, you can call me and talk to me once every 2 weeks. And that's what I did throughout that whole 15 weeks that I was out of school. Did that, stayed connected, came back the next semester, had to take 20 credit hours in one semester to get back on track. Did it, and did it with honors, and the rest, they say, is history, right? But you never get to that point when that failure comes and you can't go to school anymore, if you go back home and you quit or you disappear. So ask yourself, when your failure comes, what's going to be your response? Is it going to be your lesson? Or is it going to be what? Undertaker, right. Is it going to totally take you out? That's the question. That's the question. Next one. Perseverance. How everyone tonight in here will tell me they want something out of their career. You're going to school for a reason. You're going to school to get an education, but also ultimately to go out and get a job and get a career, right? That's important. But the question will be, where's that perseverance and how bad do you really want it? How much are you really willing to go through? Do you kind of want it or do you really want it? One of my goals, as I told you earlier, was to have a career and be successful. Well, there's things that perseverance come into play. I just mentioned one about being out of school. I'll give you another Ferris State example. Before leaving Ferris State University, I had an opportunity to work here as an administrator. But I wouldn't have had that opportunity if it wasn't for perseverance. I went after graduation, the vice president of the university at the time told me, hey, look, we want you to potentially be an intern, here at Ferris State University and stay here and get your master's degree. I said, great, that sounds good. So I went to see him, first time, not there. Went to see him again, next time, not there. Went to see him again, and next time, not there. I went to see him 6 times before he took a meeting with me. Now, a lot of people would have quit after once or twice. Again, that perseverance. And then once I got there and met with him, I got the opportunity, got the internship, was able to get my master's, was able to work here 5 years, got 4 promotions in 5 years that I was here, but none of that would have happened had I not had that initial perseverance. Perseverance is so, so important. And he later told me that was the test to see how bad I wanted. He was there some of those times. He wanted to see, he said, I've heard from many people that say they want to work and they want to be here. But a lot of them don't really want it. So you have to ask yourself, Do you really want him? Will you go back 6 times? Will you call? Will you, if somebody's asked you to stop by, will you stop by 6 times in a row with no response? Or will you quit after 1 or 2 times and say it wasn't meant to be? No, it's meant to be. But you have to believe and make it meant to be. And all of this stuff is hard. All of this stuff is hard. You know how many calls and people talk to me every day about how they want to be an athletic director? I have 46 coaches reporting to me. We have 27 sports, over 700 student athletes. We have a staff of all kinds of teachers and counselors and people. Every single day, my life is booked from 6 in the morning till night. But people, kids and students come tell me all the time, they want this life. They want to be a part of it. They want to be an athletic director. And my question to them is, how bad? Do they have the perseverance to get there? It's hard to get in these jobs. Yes, when you get one, it's great. I'm not telling you that it's not and it's bad. Don't feel bad for me. It's a great gig, a really, really cool job, and it pays a lot of money. But it's very, very hard to get. And the only way you can get this job or any other jobs that you want in your career is have that perseverance. That's so important. So understand that it's going to be hard. Expect it to be hard. You wouldn't want it any other way, because anything worth having is going to be hard. Next. It's prosperity. Prosperity. 2 nights ago, who in here follows NBA basketball? Yep, somewhat, yeah. 2 nights ago, there was a rant by LeBron James. You guys know who LeBron James is? There was a big rant. He had a big rant. Not a guy who normally rants, but he went on a rant about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the organization. And his rant was, we're losing right now. We're not as good as we were last year. And he went on and on and on. And it was a big deal. Now, he went on this rant because that's how much it meant to him for the team not to be doing well. The team is still in first place. The team is still in first place in the conference. But his point was, we have to be better. LeBron James brought Cleveland their first championship in any sport last year in over 52 years. He's a millionaire 1,000,000 times over. He's got shoes, commercials, a beautiful wife, family, houses, a house in Brentwood, California, one in Cleveland. Everything you could possibly imagine, right? But you know how he's handling prosperity? He's handling it well. He's handling it like he hasn't won 3 NBA titles already. He's handling like he's not an 11-time NBA All-Star. He's handling like he hasn't won 4 MVPs of the NBA already. He's handling like he hasn't been the conference and NBA Finals MVP three times already. And that's how you have to handle it. See, I wake up every day in a panic. Not because I'm panicked about the day. I'm panicked about somebody catching me. I'm panicked about looking over the shoulder and getting comfortable. You see, you measure a person, I'll tell you a great way to measure a person. You give them a lot of money and a lot of power. And then you'll find out who that person really is. See, we talked about failure earlier. I think it's easier to deal with failure than it is to deal with winning, prosperity. If you're on a team and you're on a winning streak, you know what? That's, as a coach and as an athletic director, that's when I'm really nervous. That's when I'm scared out of my mind. You know why? It's because that's when you start to feel good. You start to read those press clippings, say, boy, we're really good. And this is great. Look how good we are. And everybody's patting you on the back. Mom's telling you how great you are. Friends are telling you how great you are. And you're the best thing since sliced bread, right? And then that next game, what happens? Get popped. And you know why you get popped? Because you're starting to feel it. You're starting to believe the hype. So when you have that prosperity and you have that success, stay hungry. Wake up and keep chasing it. Wake up like you haven't been successful. Every day I wake up, I tell myself I'm that intern that's going to the office. And I get, you know what? One of the things I pride myself on, and hopefully you do this too, when you get in that role. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, hey, what time I'm doing a documentary on my life. Somebody's doing a documentary on my life. And they said, hey, what time do you guys get into the office? You know what I said? What time are you supposed to get in the office, they asked. And I said, I don't know. And she looked at me like, what do you mean? I get there at 6 a.m. Before anybody gets there, I'm there. So I don't know what time I don't know what time we're supposed to be there. Maybe 7:30. But I'm there at 6. I'm the first one there and the last one to leave. When I took the job at Okemos, they told me, hey, listen, there's going to be some late nights with games and that sort of thing. So you can come in around 10:30, 11 after those games. We know there are late nights and all of that. I've never done that once. And the reason why is because I want to stay hungry. I want to keep chasing it. I feel like somebody's behind me. If I'm coming in at 11 o'clock, what's the other ADs doing? What is somebody else looking to get this role doing? They're getting up early. So remember, prosperity is great. That's what we all want. We all want to win. We all want to be successful. But understand when we're doing that, you got to stay disciplined to the things that got you there. If you start to believe it and start to believe your own hype and read your own clippings, you won't get there. It won't be a repeat thing. And that's why LeBron James was upset and went off and said, about the team and what they needed to do. Not because he hadn't been successful. They're the NBA champs. But the key is, how do you stay there? How do you stay there? And the final thing as far as these points go, and I want to really answer your questions, just understand that you have to continue to, number 6 is continue to reinvent your goals and reinvent yourself. That's so important in today's world, in today's society. You can't stay the same. People that know me sometimes say to me, hey, you know what, Ira, you changed. You're not the same person that I knew. And I just smile and I say, you're right. I did change. I'm not that same person. And hopefully you change too. You don't want to be the same person that you were. You don't want to have that on you where you say, boy, you know what? I knew this person 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and they're the same person. You have to evolve. You have to reinvent yourself. That's so important in life. Everything we do, there has to be a reinvention after a while. You have to stay relevant. Every day I'm thinking about different ways, from social media to marketing to everything I do with my life. how do I get better? How do I reinvent myself? That's so important in everything. Because eventually somebody's coming along and they have something new. So they want to see you have that something new. And your goals, you have to reinvent your goals. As I told you, I wanted to, ever since I was a kid, play in the NFL. That was my only really big goal. I wanted to be a part of the National Football League. That was so important to me. And going through college, had a solid career, was able to get a few tryouts here and there and that sort of thing, but it didn't work out. So I considered that part a failure, that I did not make it to the NFL. Okay? That was a failure in my mind. But then I started working at Ferris State University as an administrator. That was great, had success there. In 2008, I got the call from the NCAA national office in Indianapolis. Who in here knows what the NCAA is? Everyone? Good. The governing body of college sports. The evil empire. The people with all the money that govern college athletics. Joking about the evil empire. But it's a great place. But I got the call there, went there, got the opportunity to work, be an administrator at the top of the college level. And during that time, working at the NCAA national office, my boss came to me and said, hey, we want you to start this partnership, joint partnership with the National Football League. And I said, okay, it sounds good. We want you to put together programs to help current players and former players really transition from their playing days into their career and that sort of thing. And I said, okay, that sounds really, really good. So I thought I was going to be putting together a program at the NCAA. He said, no, we want you to work with the NFL and create this program because they're going to use it. They're going to piggyback off of us, and they're going to use this program. So I said, okay, great. So he said, we're going to send you to New York City for a week, and you're going to get a chance to work with NFL administrators and that sort of thing and kind of, work this program and let them know, what they're going to do and this and that. And so you're going to be conducting a lot of meetings, in New York City. So I remember saying, okay, that sounds really good, but it really didn't hit me yet. So I got, the first day, got to Indianapolis Airport, boom, flew out to New York City. And I remember, getting into LaGuardia Airport in NYC and there being a car to pick me up. And that's when I first said, oh, wow, this is nice. This is cool. So I was ready to get a cab. It wasn't Uber then, but I was ready to get a cab. So they had a car ready for me to pick me up. They took me to a place called 280 Park Avenue. Who here has heard of Park Avenue? It's a famous street in New York. And 280 Park Avenue was where the NFL headquarters was. I get out the car, go to the NFL headquarters. I'm in the NFL headquarters, and lo and behold, who walks by but Roger Goodell. Roger shakes my hand. I shake his hand. He said, hey, glad to have you here. I'm glad you're working with our NFL player development department. We had a nice little conversation. Who knows who Roger Goodell is? Who is Roger Goodell? Who? The commissioner of the NFL, right? So at this point, I'm really kind of, just in a daze. And we're just talking, we're going back and forth. And after that conversation, it was like 5 minutes before my next meeting. So I went to the bathroom and pulled out my cell phone. And I remember at the time, I had tears running down my face, and there were tears of joy. And I called the number, and I called my mom, and I simply said this, Mom, I made it to the NFL. And I could just, she paused, and she started crying. I was crying. And I wasn't crying because it was something that I didn't understand or I didn't or that was wrong, I was crying because that was the goal that I had all along. Now, what I was saying about reinventing your goals, I was thinking as a player, I had no idea that I was going to be working with the NFL from an administrative standpoint at that time when I was little, obviously. But my goals changed, and I reinvented. My goals became different, and they kind of were reinvented. And that's where I was able to still fulfill that lifelong goal of getting to the NFL. So you, in this seat, you may have a direction or a goal that you have right now, and it may be something lofty, and you may have a vision of where you want to go right now, but you may end up getting there, but it may be a different route than you expect. But you can't do that if I couldn't have gotten to the NFL if I was still 6 years out of college trying to do tryouts, right? And still not following another path. I knew when my career was over and when I had to put the football down and utilize the education that I got here at Ferris State University and change my goals. And I knew at that time I had to do that. And so that's ultimately how I got to that ultimate goal. And when I look at my resume today, that's still one of the shining moments that really stuck, that's on my resume, National Football League. And people ask me about that all the time when I do interviews or whatever. They say, oh, wow, you worked in, that stands out. Because there's not many people in this United States of America or in the world that's had an opportunity to do those things and to do that. So understand that reinventing yourself and getting to your goal is so important because it will change from now until when you get to your career. It could change dramatically, and it could change the way you get there. So who can tell me the 6 key things that I just covered as it relates to winning and losing? Go.
Number 1 was have a long-term vision. Number 2 was preparation. Number 3 was failure. Number 4 was perseverance. Number 5 was prosperity. And then the last one was reinvent yourself and reinvent your goal.
That's it. See, that's a young man that's paying attention. That's a young man that's probably going to be successful because he's not laughing, joking, not staring at his notebook, not looking off into the space, paying attention, seeking information. Information that's valuable, seeking things the little things that are going to help propel you to the next level. Understand, in the game of life, there are going to be ups, downs along the journey. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But your progress is going to all depend on how well you're paying attention, how well you can handle prosperity, how well you can handle failure, how well you move along that path, how well you're prepared. All those things that I mentioned are part of that journey. And I believe you all can get there if you continue to focus and lock in on some of those things that I mentioned. So with that being said, I'm gonna open up for some questions.
I just wanted to know, like, in creating those documents, like, how did you go about your research and finding, like, information about becoming an athletic director?
It's a good question. How did I go about my research? 2 things. One, I kind of took some information off the internet as far as successful athletic directors. Just Googled, successful traits of athletic directors, and a lot of things came up. So I kind of took some of that research from the internet. Off of that, I kind of stuff that I already knew from being an administrator, I kind of put those things in. And then the final piece was really sitting down with those current sitting ADs and asking them, just being a sponge, just sitting down. I had it on record and said, hey, listen, tell me, give me your top 5 things in this role. What as it relates to being important. And they were able to list off, hey, you know what? Number 1, is student athlete welfare. Number two, they would go on and on of what they were. And then I took all of that and compiled it and put it in a document. And so internet's one, stuff that I already had in mind from being an administrator is two. And then finally, the interviews with the athletic directors that I conducted was the final piece that helped me put it all together.
How did you cope with like your failures at all? Like, when you had failures, how'd you cope with it?
How did I cope with failures? Great question. Because coping with failure is very, very difficult. How I cope with it is I use it as fuel. I use it as fuel inside of me. Yes, I allowed myself probably a day pity party. A day where I was bummed and down in the dumps and said, you know what, this really, really stinks. But after that day pity party, that's when I said, okay, this is a bad situation that I'm in. How am I going to turn it around? So allow yourself some time to grieve and and spend a day saying, boy, woe is me and all that, because it helps get everything out. And then you got to bounce back that next day and start putting down 3 or 4 things that can turn this negative into a positive. So what I would do after I allowed myself one day of pity party, I would go the next day and I would write down 3 or 4 things. This is how I'm going to turn this negative into a positive, right? So when I was away from school, when I failed and I couldn't come to school, I said, you know what can I do every day, that I'm not? So I started thinking of things that, okay, I'm going to get a job, first of all. Second, after that, I'm going to stay in contact with Dr. Ray. The next thing I'm going to, and I had like 3 or 4 things down. And so that gave me steps to where I could turn that negative into a positive, and it was going to lead me to that ultimate result, right? Because if I sat around every day and thought about how bad a situation I was in, guess what? You won't bounce back. You will not bounce back. You have to come up with steps to way to bounce back after those failures. Because again, they're going to come. They're going to come to everybody in this room. But how you handle them distinguishes you. And not how you don't handle them is this. You don't go out drinking. You don't go get drugs. You don't go and kick the dog. You don't go and do anything that could compound your problems. Because the only person that's going to solve those problems is not going to be that drink. It's not going to be those drugs. It's going to be the person in the mirror. So to answer your question again, take 3 or 4 things, write them down from a positive standpoint that can help you turn that negative into a positive.
So I actually interned with somebody you might know, Brian Osborne, athletic director at Fowlerville.
Okay, yeah, I know.
And so I got a little taste of what it's like to be an athletic director in the early mornings and late nights, and I was just curious on how you balance that with your business.
Yeah, it's a tough balance in that. Good question. How do you prioritize and balance things? The work-life balance is very, very tough. It's one of those things that I don't really have a ton of work-life balance. It's more work than life, unfortunately. I'm going to try to switch that here in the coming months. Probably, well, I'm going to have to switch it. But it's a tricky act. But I would say the best way to balance it is try to get some type of schedule. Try to develop some type of schedule saying, hey, you know what? You got to schedule this and schedule that. I mean, I schedule things that are crazy, like lunch and just random things on my schedule every single day just to make sure that I get in, because I feel like the more scheduled that I am, the more I can get everything in. Because a lot of times if I go off script, then I've missed a lot of things. I'll come in and sometimes you have to deal with issues and problems, so they throw you off your script anyways. But if you don't have that and you don't stay on and you stay on script, that'll help you get more things in. You know what I mean? If you develop a schedule and you can put everything in your phone now, so my alerts just go off all day long. Do this, do that. Go here, go there. You know what I mean? So that keeps me scheduled. And then there's a time where I say, hey, you know what? I can work on business stuff. I can work on, Okerman stuff. I can travel. I mean, I travel a lot. I'm all over the country. I just got back off a plane yesterday from Los Angeles, California. And I was there, doing some things, met with some schools and did a whole bunch of stuff in the last 48 hours. So right now, I don't even know how I'm standing, but I'm here. So you just have to schedule yourself, put stuff in your schedule so you can get everything in. And you won't get everything in, and it's not perfect. And if you have a significant other, they're gonna be in your ear and say, hey, why but that's all you can do is schedule.
When you talked about meeting with those athletic directors, what did you do? Was it other networks you had, or what did you do to get your foot in the door with them just to get that meeting? Or were they pretty open to that?
You know what I did? I picked up this, I hit Google. I said, XY school, boom, call. I said, this is my goal. I want to be in your seat one day. Can I pick a time to talk to you? They said, sure, come in. It's the summertime now. It wasn't during the middle of the season. You know what I mean? So you had a little more flexibility. But that was it. No, nothing special. I didn't know some of them, had no connection. Sometimes all it takes is that initiative to call them and get it in and ask them. And they'll be able to meet with you and help you. But you have to make that initial call, make that initial email. And sometimes, you know what? You got to call 2 or 3 times because they won't call you back. I've had that happen. Some of them didn't call me back, but I called them eventually. And when I called them, I asked them, I said, oh, yeah, come on in. And it wasn't personal. I didn't take it personal that the 2 times I called before, they didn't call me back. They're busy. They don't know me from a can of paint. Why would they be excited to call me back? But I called them, and then when I called them, I was able to have that conversation. And now we're friends and all of that. But it just takes that, again, when we were talking about earlier, that perseverance. So, hey, you know what? I'm going to call. I had no end to most of them.
So it's pretty evident that you're a very driven person, and obviously not to compromise anything, but do you have any goals for the future? Is Okemos, do you think it's your end goal, or where do you see yourself going from here, essentially?
That's a good question. No, I don't think it's my end goal. I know it's not my end goal. And I don't know how much longer I'll be there. It may be 3 years. It could be 6 months. This is year 4. It's been a great experience. I have a great working relationship with my superintendent and principal. Absolutely love the place. But like you said, I'm a very driven person, a very goal-oriented person. So, something could come along here pretty soon and you could see me gone. And, that's the way it is. But I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for things to happen. I think the one thing I would always give all of you this advice. Think about the future, no doubt, when you get a chance, plan for it and all that. But be the best you are at the job you have. Be the best you are at the job I have. When I go to Okemos, I'm not thinking about planning for the future and all that. I'm thinking about being the best at Okemos. I'm thinking about doing great things there. And that's how you become successful. That's how you get promoted. That's how you get other opportunities. By being great where you are. Not going somewhere, people, I've seen young people get places and they're so worried about the next place that they're not really doing a great job at that place. So guess what? When the next place calls and say, hey, tell me about Johnny, and they say, yeah, he's okay, you're not going to get that big job. If somebody calls Kathy Ash right now, and I'm not bragging, I'm just being honest, or Christine Cermak, my principal, and says, hey, tell me about Ira Childress, they're going to say, hey, he's rocking it out. And my evaluations reflect that. They're not going to say, hey, here's a guy that's half-hearted into it, and he's looking at offers somewhere else, and he's not doing a great job. So you got to be focused on where you are. While keeping an eye on the future, you still have to do great in the current job. So to answer your question, not sure what the future holds. I love athletics. I can't say I plan to stay in athletics, and where it goes from there, who knows?
First off, I'd just like to say thank you for being here because we appreciate you coming here every year. Could you just talk about like your experience of working with the NFL and what that was like?
Yeah, it was great. We had a chance to really kind of mold and shape former players former and current players who really were thinking about their end goal and kind of thinking about their career and where they wanted to go. Because no matter how great an NFL player you are, one day the air is going to come out of the ball, right? You're not going to be able to catch any more passes. You're going to be on Dancing with the Stars like Megatron. The career is going to come to an end. So our goal was to try to help them facilitate that next career, whether it be broadcasting, whether it be coaching, whether it be public speaking, whatever it is. Here's the skills, here's the network, here's the opportunities to create that next career for yourself. And it was very good, and I had a great experience working with those players because they were hungry for information. They were great at football, but they understood they needed to learn about public speaking. They needed to learn about networking. They needed to learn about business. They needed to learn about broadcasting. They needed to learn about all the things, all the soft skills and things we were trying to teach them in that academy. So it was a great experience, something that I'll always remember for the rest of my life. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And good luck to you all. Thank you.